Hey everyone, welcome back to another Supra video. So what we're going to work on in this video is building the new air-to-air intercooler for the car. Now, if you remember, I had made a video about building the air-to-water intercooler for the car. And it would have worked well, but with changing the setup up to becoming, or to be more of a street car in this iteration, I decided to switch back to an air-to-air to simplify the setup and to allow for a front mount radiator and a setup that will be more efficient and more adequate for street driving. So what we have is some 3/16 inch thick aluminum sheet, a Wiggins flange, an 11 gauge 3-inch aluminum tube stub there, and then a 6-inch thick Bell intercooler core. So I have enough material here on hand to build the hot side tank. The cold side tank will be a backdoor style tank that I'm currently waiting on a piece of radiused aluminum to be completed for me. So in the meantime, I can get started on the hot side tank rather, and that will be a more standard traditional design. So I'll go ahead and get the drafting out the dimensions of how these pieces need to be cut onto the pieces of aluminum. Can cut them, start tacking together, and get this end tank built. Well, that hot side end tank is all fabricated aside from the tube stub that will be the inlet for it. So why don't we take a look at it? So here on the bench, and it fit up pretty nicely. Now have a gap here, not a big deal, as with the angle of these two pieces coming together, it does not give me a nice outside corner joint like all of the other welds, so that gap is there to allow for penetration. And everything fits up nicely. Should be about ready to weld it out. So I have all my filler rod here, and I'll go ahead, I'll put a couple more tacks on this, and we'll be ready to start welding. All right, so we have the outside of that tank welded up. Everything came out great. I'm really happy with it. And with this being a 3/16 thick tank, I'm going to go ahead and weld the inside of it as well, because you can't easily guarantee full penetration on 3/16 sheet, or at least I haven't been able to, without pumping a ton of amperage into it, and I'm not real keen on that. So what I'll do is go ahead and cut the 3 tacks on either side, pop this tank off, and then I can weld the inside of it, and it will be done aside from that tube stub, as we said before. Now we have the inside of that end tank all welded up. Let's take a look at it. So here we are. Welds on all the inside seams. Make it nice and strong, and should never have any issues with it breaking, hopefully. So the other thing that's nice is if I place this back on the core, like so, get it squared up. Close enough. It does still fit on the core very nicely. And I've had in the past putting intercooler, or putting tanks together for intercoolers, that when you weld all of them, it tries to pinch the 2 long sides in. And on this one, it didn't really do that. So I might tweak it a little bit, but overall pretty happy, pretty satisfied with it. And I think it should be about ready to get welded onto the core. So I'm going to wait to do that. It's getting late. I want to get out of the shop for the day. So we'll reconvene when I have the radius portion for the cold side end tank, and we can keep going with the intercooler. And we're back for day number 2 of building the new intercooler for the Supra. So the first day we went ahead and we built the hot side end tank, and today we're going to build the cold side one. I made mention in an earlier part of the video that I was waiting on a rolled piece of 3/16 aluminum sheet metal to make a backdoor end tank. Well, I have that piece sitting on the bench. Let's take a look at it. So what this is, like I said, it's 3/16 thick, and it is a half circle or half of a piece of tubing, 9-inch diameter and 9 3/4 inches long. So what I'm going to do here is figure out from this corner to somewhere on this arc where 4.5 inches is for what would equate to be the radius, or close to the radius at least. I'll make a mark there, scribe a line along the height of this piece of tubing, and that will give me the dimension of, or the working dimension from start to stop of the sheet metal for this tank. From there, I can find my centralized point. I can mark out where a 4.5 inch flat will be on it, and that will serve as the body of the side of the tank. From there, I can make a trapezoid that goes on the back side and will match up to this tank here, and then all I have to do is make kind of D-shaped caps that will go on the top and the bottom side of it, as this will be a center feed, or center exit on this cold side of the tank. So I guess let me go ahead, I'll mark this out, and we can go from there. And check that out. So we have the main two large body portions of this tank fabricated and tacked onto the core. Also have a 4-inch hole right here, as you see. So that leaves us the top and the bottom cap pieces. And what I'll do here is get a piece of cardboard that I can lay across this expanse here and come up from the bottom side and trace out the pattern of this opening here. And it should be pretty close top and bottom, so I should only have to cut one pattern out. And then I can cut my 2 cap pieces out of aluminum, get them tacked on, and then this tank will be ready to weld up. So let's go ahead and do that. And now the cold side intercooler tank is all welded, so let's take a look at it. So, came out pretty nicely. You can see the nice radius on the tank, and it did get scratched up a little bit, but that's no big deal, as I probably will end up painting the intercooler, so not a huge concern there. And we can see inside there, everything looks cool. So the next order of business will be the same as the hot side intercooler tank, and that will be to weld the inside of it. So let's bust the tank off of the intercooler core, weld the inside of it, and then start looking at the outlet flange that is going to go on it. There we have the intercooler all tacked together. So you saw me use these pieces of 1/8-inch strip stock to space the tank off. I do that to leave a little bit of a gap to allow for better penetration on that weld. And now I'm pretty beat, but I think the last order of business for this video will be figuring out the inlet and outlet for this, and it will have these Adele Wiggins flanges on it. So they'll both have stubs on them. This side, if I hold this up here, you can see it kicks it a little bit outward. I want it to sit pretty much parallel with this side of the core. And this side here, I'll likely end up putting some sort of an elbow on it to get it at a better angle to go and mate up to the compressor outlet. And I went ahead, loosened the compressor cover on here, so that way it gives me the bit of play that I will need to figure out where exactly these things are going to go. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at that. And that is roughly how the intercooler will sit. So it's per the usual on this channel, it ends up being rigged in place with spacers and shims and whatever else I had sitting around to make it work, but I have it sitting level to the tube nose bar, and I think it looks pretty sweet where it's at. Now, in looking at it more, I don't think I'm going to mess around with the inlet and outlet stubs right now. Reason for that is with the space that I'm dealt, especially on the hot side here. Just let me grab, I can just use this stub right here. It is going to be difficult without ordering some other materials in to figure out an appropriate way to make that bend. So this is a long radius bend, and I think I'll probably end up having to use some short radius bends to make that side work. The cold side, not such a big deal, but I want to wait until I play around with that hot side a little bit more in case the intercooler has to move side to side or what have you. So I think that is about going to wrap it up for this video. I know probably not quite as entertaining as some of the other ones, but we'll have more content coming in the near future. So till next time, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and we'll see you then.